My guest this week is someone who never quite fits into one box. You've seen her as the sharp journalist chasing the truth in Scam 1992, as the fearless agent Zoya in The Family Man, and as the writer and movie buff Neela in Chup, a film in which I shared screen space with her. But beyond the screen, she's a seeker, a traveler, and a curious soul who lets the world shape her. She's always asking, always exploring, searching for stories, for meaning, for a deeper connection to life. The wonderful and gorgeous actor, author, and fellow nomad, Shreya Dhanvantari.
Oh my God. Hi. It's so nice to see you. And also, guys, she's saying all these adjectives because you can't see me right now.
No, I believe that you are absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And when we were talking about going to a John Mayer concert, and I said, all that is fine, but when am I getting the privilege of having you on my show? And you were like, oh my God, what am I going to bring to your show? You have all these exalted guests. I said, you, my dear, have the universe within you.
Oh my God.
And you will make my show sparkle like you have made my life sparkle.
This is a true story. This is a conversation we actually had, and Pooja's not paraphrasing. These are the words that each of us have used. I have said that she has exalted, illustrious guests on her show, and I was worried that I wouldn't know what to bring, because Pooja, you and the choices that you've made, I mean, me as an audience, okay? I have been so moved by the choices that you've made in front of the screen and in behind, when you started to produce, when you started to direct. All of these choices for a woman growing up in, wanting to be in the cinema, it's a big deal. There aren't many voices as brave as you are, as honest as you are. You're open about your struggle. You're open about the personal demons that you have. You're open about the professional demons that you've had to deal with. It's truly an illustrious life. So I feel like I'm quite, I don't know what else to say, but I'm very humbled. I'm very humbled to be getting any sort of a praise from you.
I see you work so hard and fight to keep that fire alive within you. You love movies.
Oh, I do.
You love the craft. You love acting. And you are fighting really hard to be true.
Yeah.
To what you believe in. I mean, one discussion is that, there's no work out there. The other is that there's no work out there that defines me. So is it a certain kind of job that's not available, or is it just work that's not available? I heard you on a podcast recently, Varun's podcast.
Yes.
And what you said was very true, that it's not only actors who are struggling with this right now, but, people who generally have work all the time, technicians, for example.
Right now, yes.
The phone's not ringing.
Yeah, it's not.
And I think that the first thing we need to educate people on within the industry first and then outside it is, don't come up to somebody who's an actor and always ask them, so what's next?
Oh dear, yes.
That's what's next.
Conversation 101. Let's not do that.
It is agonizing for anybody in the arts to hear that question. But what we need to talk about more, and I'm glad that I saw you doing it, is that how do you hold on to yourself in those long periods,
There's a very famous quote, I think it's either by Albert Camus or it's by E.E. Cummings, or both of them said like a version of the same thing, where I think the quote goes something like, it is a form of resistance just to be yourself in a world that is trying to make you everybody else. Just the idea of being yourself in itself is a rebellion.
Oh, it is, absolutely. Because, the thing is that they're constantly trying to put you into a box, and that's exactly what I said in my introduction.
For sure.
About you, is that you can't be put into a box.
Oh, I think that is the problem of my unemployment. No, but because people like to define things, right? I don't think people can live in an amorphous, nebulous world. Whether it's your sexuality, whether it's your preference. Everybody needs a definition, right? And especially our industry, which is supposed to be artistic. Yeah. It is not supposed to be bound by any limits or not supposed to be boxed in. But even there, people like to place you in certain brackets. You're the girl next door. You're the sexy siren. You're the Madonna, whatever, right? The mother, the eternal, sacrificial mother. Again, it's a gender-based thing, clearly, because for guys, regardless of their age, regardless of how they look, whatever, they're going to get to be the leading man in romance, whatever, right? Let's not go there. But because they like definitions so much, and I feel like you and I are pretty much similar in the fact that we cannot be defined by just one particular box, which I think is a very definitive quality
Yeah.
Ironically, a very definitive quality is that you can't be defined. That's the irony. But I'll give you an example. My friend recently quit a job. Another friend is thinking about quitting her job, and my cousin is also a little going stir crazy at her current job. And everybody is in different stages of having quit, about to quit, and wanting to quit. And they couldn't even last a week without wanting to do something, right?
Right.
Because they had a set pattern. They'd wake up every day, go to work, come back, complain about work, sleep, repeat the process.
And the check is coming in every month.
Right?
Yeah.
The second that went, even though that was their choice, they're like, abhi to main chill karega, abhi, ek mahina, whatever, or 2 months, I'll take a break. But the minute they actually saw, it felt like a looming abyss. And they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And this is and obviously crying to me and talking to me I don't know what's going to happen, and all the the worst parts of yourself are coming out and they're getting voiced.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a job. I don't know if I'm good enough. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, you do realize
That this is my life.
that for actors or for people who are freelancers, the people who are in artistic pursuits, most of the time we have nothing to do. And when we're busy, suppose when we're on set, when we're shooting, okay, 15 hours go by just like that and the day is gone. And that time you don't have any, not even a single minute or an hour to yourself if you're not working. But when we're free, we're really free.
Yeah.
And this is the first time these people are getting to experience that. I'm like, listen, you're getting a glimpse into what we go through.
Absolutely.
That does not mean that your problem is not relevant, right?
Yeah.
You can't compare and say, oh, please, I go through this all the time. What do you say? No, it's not about comparison.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to, like you said, trying to tell people out there that it is very important for you not to rely on things outside of yourself in general. Whether it comes to your source of happiness.
Yeah.
Where people put a lot of store in relationships, right? Even that is problematic. If you're looking for purpose outside of yourself, if you're looking for happiness outside of yourself, if you're looking for avenues to distract yourself outside of yourself, inevitably, the silence is going to get loud. It's going to be deafening.
Sure.
And in a way that it's crushing to you.
Yeah.
You're not going to know what to do. So it's, again, they say, try to find a hobby, I don't know if that's that is helpful advice, but on the other hand, I feel like you should figure out who you are, and that takes a lot more inner work.
It does. Because, if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you who you are.
Beautifully put. That's exactly what I think.
I think that's Camus, if I'm not
See,
mistaken.
again, twice he's been invoked here.
He's in the room. He's
very, very, exactly. We'll see, one more time we'll get Bloody Mary and Camus together. No, but it's just you have to figure out who you are. You have to figure out what you like, what you don't like. What are you looking for in a relationship? What are you looking for in a career? What do you get from it? How much are you putting yourself out there? How much do you gain by each of these single avenues in your life? It's a lot of hard work. It's not easy. This is why I think religion and spirituality is so attractive to so many people.
Yeah, it is. I just wish they had all the answers though. But I hear you. I think a waiting mind can get fearful. And I think that's exactly what we need to try so hard to constantly to stay away from is the fear. That terror, that thin line between today is going to be the day to it may never be the day is terrifying.
Yeah.
And the frightening thing is that you never get away from that feeling.
Oh, never.
It follows you around all your life. I was 19. Before I knew it, I was on everybody's wall.
Yeah.
I had a break from acting for 21 years and then Bombay Begums happened to me.
Correct.
And you realize that people are very generous to you when you first begin. And then when you have completely destroyed yourself and then you make a comeback because they love a comeback.
Yeah, people love a comeback.
But you never get off that treadmill. So when you look back, you realize that, the quiet times is when life actually happens.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because you can't wait for life to happen. Because I feel like, no, I'll work, I'll get the money, then I'll buy the house, and then it'll start. And then I'm going to start living. And then that's the thing. But I feel like the whole process, everything, the quiet moments, the lulls, the ups and downs, all of it, that is your life. And if you're just waiting for something to start and you think of this as a pause, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because you'll see a lot of years have passed and you have nothing to show for it. You should realize that it's happening right now. So you might as well live it the way you can. Again, I want to preface this by saying that we are speaking from a very major point of privilege. I do get that a lot of people don't have a lot of choice. But for the people who do have a choice, I think most of them are wasting it.
It's really about what you want and what you're willing to give to get that. You know, there's no end to acquisition. The higher you go, the harder the fall is going to be because you cannot remain there forever. There has to be a lull, there has to be a change of guard in that sense. But through it all, I think what I was always committed to, and I see that in you as well, when you go out into the world and you're constantly seeking new experiences.
Yes.
You know, travel for you, I think that
Very much.
is your oxygen.
Very
As much as acting, perhaps. And that keeps you rooted. You look at the world with new eyes. And
I agree. It trivializes a lot of my shit and keeps a lot of it in like perspective. So I don't know how else to say it, but when I travel, it makes my problems feel this small.
yeah.
You know, and it helps. It helps because the thing that I was worried about, the role that I didn't get, the audition that I gave was so good that didn't work out. And suddenly it doesn't matter. Because I remember I was on a trip, not this year, but last year. I was worried about something not working out and I was like upset. And there's something like a moroseness, like a cloud of like, you know, I was blue. And finally, because I don't discuss all this with mom and dad, especially because they're so removed and all they can offer is tension and anxiety. So I don't invite them into all of these issues. I tend to sort them out myself. And then when I told them that, you know, this is a role, I help the people prepare and help with the script and sat with them and encourage them. And then they didn't even have the courtesy to inform me that when they did get greenlit. Yeah, funded, exactly. Because they did get rejected and then they got greenlit again. They didn't even have the courtesy to like tell me that I wasn't on the project anymore.
Ouch.
Which broke me because I think manners, man. I set a lot of store by manners and I think that's vanishing, but that's a whole other...
No, that's just basic human decency.
Courtesy, I agree. But I don't think that's there. That's a very rare quality that, I don't know, it's like a disappearing sort of
trait.
Yeah, very much. Anyway, so I was telling that to my parents and my dad and my mom. They just look at me. She's like, "Beta, it's only a film. That's okay. It's only a film." And I don't know. Yeah, okay. For me, it is a lot. It means a lot. But them, I don't know. Them putting it or saying it the way that they said it, because again, it's coming from a lot of love, which I recognize, which is why I was able to also take it in a way that was helpful.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. It's only a film. Even though it's like my entire lifeblood or show, but you know. But I wanted to ask you, things have changed from the 90s, right? From the films in the 90s and say early 2000s. Now it's, dear Lord, right? There was a point where it was going, there was like an upward trajectory for things, for openness, for courage in storytelling and all of that. But is there something that you're seeing, one, that is very encouraging and hopeful for you to see as a trend, having been a part of this industry for like as many years as you have, and one that is worrying, something that's good, something that's bad, that you're seeing right now in the young women who are trying to like come into the industry?
You have far more options today. I mean, I am 53. And
she doesn't look at Jay over 30, guys.
And there are parts being written for a woman of a certain age where they do not want you to look or be anything more or less than
like
you
Mother
actually
India type,
are.
yeah. And even she was 30.
And not quite Mother India
Yeah,
in that
exactly,
sense.
exactly.
So I think that it's opened up for sure, where there is an acceptance of a certain kind of look that goes beyond what they imagined that the Hindi film hero or a heroine should look like. Those lines are blurred. But at the same time, there's a homogenized kind of veneer.
Oh my God, thank you so much. That's,
You know, everyone's dressing a certain way, everyone's
they look
sounding a
the
certain
same.
way.
They sound the same.
Yeah. But there's so much access, Shreya, on a certain level. You need to go to a premiere, there's a costume that'll be made available to you.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Despite so much access, how do you not stand out? Because everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
Everybody talks the same.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is, if you have, you're in an age of abundance, I thought I would think that you would use that to cement who you are. But the problem is, who you are is, again, this is a very interesting thing again that I wanted to discuss with you, because I don't know where this is stemming from.
But you said something very important, is to cement who you are.
Yeah.
What if there is no person
That's
really
exactly
there?
that's exactly what I'm going. So because I wanted to discuss this, like, where is that stemming from? Like, why is this happening? Because even the conversations that I'm having with certain people, like, right, I don't want to restrict age, to a certain age bracket, but I figured that you guys were opening up or paving the way for us to be a little bit more fearless, because you were born in a time that didn't allow you that much, that gave you nothing but judgment, right?
Well, one thing that me and Manisha Koirala did, it made it very easy for women to walk around openly and say, I have a boyfriend. I was told by a very senior journalist, you want to make it, please learn to keep your opinions to yourself. Do what you want to do, but just don't talk about it.
No, but it's a big deal. But you guys paid the price for it. And I thought that gave us leeway to sort of be a little bit more bolder and, make the path a little bit more wider for the people that are coming. But then the people that are coming are perfectly fine with no road whatsoever.
Yeah.
They're regressing in a way that is baffling, because I don't understand. Again, they're regressing to traditional trad setup, trad wife and trad patriarchal setup. They're again rejecting the tenets of feminism. They're mocking it. They're talking about again what the harm is if you can look a certain way, if you can plump this up and fill this up and clean this up, why not?
Yeah.
Why don't you use the technology?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think people are realizing the sinister agenda behind all of this. And not only that, like I said about conversation. See, I don't think everybody is meant to read a book. I get it, because I know people who have dyslexia. I know people who engage or consume their media through audio or through video or by seeking out zones that are not particularly in their comfort, right? So there are different ways of dissemination of knowledge. Fine. But what I see now, again, which I wanted to discuss with you, I don't know if this is because of the proliferation of social media or the fact that it's so ubiquitous in our life. Because what is it? They don't want to seek out new knowledge. They don't want to be uncomfortable for the slightest second.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything is like, if there's a little bit of inconvenience, they complain.
Yeah.
They whine about it, and because there are certain places where people are really pushing the envelope and talking about, okay, you must recognize that there aren't just two genders, which I love. That sexuality is on a spectrum, which I love. But what happened to everything else? Why aren't you pushing the envelope?
Yeah.
With the world burning the way it is, why are you shutting up? Why are you joining the bandwagon of the clamor?
Yeah, it's
of
a
the
conspiracy
noise?
of silence.
You're young. The whole point of youth is to stick it to the man. That's the whole point. The whole point is that, they can't understand us. They don't really care about us. That's supposed to be your shtick. You're not supposed to join the uncles and aunties and, look at someone askance just because they live a life a certain way,
Yeah.
because they're single or they want to remain childless, or, they want to live a life that is sober. Whatever it is. I don't know what happened. There's a dearth of depth, like you said very correctly. The reason why a lot of them are looking alike and walking and talking alike is because, again, they're being trained in a certain way, but there's no inner life.
Yeah.
Why?
There's
How?
no inner life, there's
Have
no
you
inner
noticed
light.
that as well? But why do you think that is? It's baffling to me.
I don't know. I mean, I think the attention span is fragmented. You have this feeling that you are connected, but you are incapable of sitting across somebody and having any sort of human contact. Everything is through a screen. You do not want to feel vulnerable. Like you rightly said, they do not want to be in a situation which is uncomfortable at all. As an actor, for example, the day I stop feeling anxious, then I know I'm over.
Yeah, because you're not growing.
Day one is always like, oh my God, can I do this? Will I be able to pull this off?
Oh, please. For the first 2 weeks of Chup, I kept thinking I was going to get fired. I'm like, Balki is going to realize that I'm like a useless piece of shit and I'm going to get fired.
Well, all of us feel the same way. So it's all that means we're okay.
Oh,
but
man.
that is something that I see, and it's an epidemic.
Really? Is it simply because of, again, social media? Is that it? Is
To
that
a
as
large
simple
extent, I think accessibility, we didn't have access.
But you were
That
forced
one
to
tape
develop
that
a
came into the
personality.
neighborhood, you went and begged outside that person's house that could I just hear it? Could I watch it?
That is true, because I feel like that's a very interesting point you make, because I feel like all of us have similar points of reference. Like, okay, I have grown up in the Middle East, right? My entire life. But I know what Deewane Parwane Mastane on Antakshari was because it's the
Right.
same channel that we all saw.
Yeah.
We all saw Power Rangers. We all saw The Lion King. We all saw Cinderella. We all read somewhat similar books.
It was a collective experience.
Right? Even though I grew completely different away from a lot of people in the world, and again, because it was somewhat of an international experience, I can relate to people my age in any country in the world mostly. But you're right, actually, because the sources are so varied and you're getting so much information that is not regulated from so many different avenues that people are growing differently, not particularly at the same rate. And you don't know what information is actually being given out there.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes sense.
And
Maybe
also,
that makes
everyone's trying so hard to fit in.
sense. Right.
Yeah, and I
Like,
find that
why
very
don't
tiring.
you stick out?
Yeah, because I think somewhere you've been told, don't make a sound that is going to plunge the room into silence.
No, I get that a lot.
I mean, yeah, well,
we get that a lot.
That's why I love you. It's because you're absolutely
get that a lot.
inappropriate sometimes by the standards of the frightened world, not by my standards. And more power to you for that. Also, more than anything else, Rhea, you make your point with a great deal of respect. And it's an informed point that you make.
But then
and
again,
that's
it's
the difference.
manners, yeah. Again, I'm telling you, it's evaporated. I said something like asked a question. So, is it okay if I do this? Or may I do this? Or say thank you, sorry, please, whatever. And the immediate reaction, I know where they're coming from. I really appreciate it. I know what they mean when they say, "Arey yaar, itna formal mat bano." I get it. I know where you're coming from. But I respect you and your space. And I don't want to take anything for granted. It's just manners.
No,
I'm going to be
I-
still inappropriate and shameless with you. Please don't worry.
I remember reading Mia Farrow's book, and she went to
Oh,
meet
dear.
the Queen of England, and she was pregnant, and she asked her, if there's one tip that you have to give me in terms of what should I teach my child? And the Queen said, manners. I think you can get everything with manners.
Yeah.
And if you ask nicely, you get the moon.
But it's
Very
true
often,
though. But
you
it's
do.
true. I would like to think, and I think you're the same way, we are not closed people. We're very open.
Yeah.
We're very honest. And for the most part, we'll give you a measured, honest response with tact. All of that is there, but we still have manners. And I feel like that's a very important balance that people have just forgotten. Charm is another thing. My God, there's a reason why some amazing women that I know are single. But my God, where has the charm gone? I'm more attracted and drawn to women because they have so much insight and they're so sexy and there's
Yeah.
so much charm.
But I've always
sadly,
felt
I'm
this way.
straight.
You know, whenever I met a really cool woman,
Yeah.
for me, that day was the most amazing day. I'd rather meet a really wonderful woman and listen to her stories than sit down with some man who's gorgeous, but when he opens his mouth, has nothing to really
But nothing new.
add to my
Exactly,
life.
nothing new to offer. It's. I keep saying, I'm making this joke with my friends and with you. It's my life's greatest tragedy that I'm straight.
Yeah, perhaps mine too. But then a friend of mine told me, you have no idea how
Oh,
difficult
really?
it is to
Oh.
go out with another woman.
Oh, really? No, the world doesn't make it easier for people who are queer. I get that. No, I really
The
get
world
that.
doesn't make it easy for anybody.
No, but world doesn't make it as a different argument.
Yeah.
My argument is the men don't make it easy in this particular situation. They are the apex predator for women. I mean, other men are hurt by men. Other women are hurt by men. Other children are hurt by men. And the thing is, right now, it just feels like all of us are somehow playing mom, teacher, manager, therapist.
Yeah,
to
which
the
I'm
dudes.
done with.
Yeah, seriously, but you think that it'll improve generations later? It's not. They're getting worse.
Yeah.
It's baffling to me because again, in the context of having a deep conversation, I have to physically stop my eyes from rolling because this man is talking to me about something that I've talked with my girlfriends a decade ago, and he's reaching this pinnacle of eye-opening theories. And I'm oh my God, man. And I really have to stop from rolling.
Yeah, I know, but some of my best friends are men. And
Likewise, actually.
Yeah.
But see, there's a difference between romantic attachment and attraction and friendship. Because there's a lot of leeway that I give to my friends. My friends would say, listen, I committed a murder. And then my first response would be I'm sure you were right. And then if their response would be no, actually I was wrong. You know what? I'm sure you had a reason. But that's the leeway I give to my friends. There's a lot of room for error, right? But from a partner, from someone you want to be attracted to, someone you want to see naked and be naked in front of,
Yeah.
literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
No. The same leeway is not given to them because I would expect to be attracted to someone who's not a moron.
Ilya Kazan said this to his wife famously. I'm not a solution, I'm a companion.
Okay, that's nice. Though.
That's wonderful. But the
that's
point is that
nice,
one is not
though.
even looking for a solution.
But nobody
One
is.
can't even find a companion.
Yeah, exactly.
I've gone out with some wonderful men.
Likewise.
And they have,
Likewise.
they have taught me things about life, about music. I'm very grateful. I think that there's a certain degree of bullshit and a certain lies that you need to tell.
There's a certain game you have to constantly play, right? Like you said, it's true. I have actually been in great relationships with men, but I blame them in a way that you have set the standard now that I can't believe that I'm not even getting that. Because I know what a good relationship looks like. I can't tolerate a mediocre one right now. And I can see, plus the thing is, again, if you're a little bit empathetic, if you're a little bit observant, you can figure people out. You can see, for the most part.
Yeah.
You can figure people out. You can see where they're coming from, why they are the way they are, why they do what they do. So, like you said, if it's not complex, and I can figure you out in 30 seconds, and it's very reflective of the choices that you make, I don't know, there's nothing to delve in. So what am I going to contribute? If it's just fun, that's even that's not fun anymore.
No, I completely agree.
Because it's easy. I mean, I don't want to sound like a jerk, which I'm going to sound like. But again, if you're a little bit empathetic, it's a sort of a superpower that you can misuse.
Yeah.
Because you can sort of manipulate anyone into a situation that you want to get them at, which is a horrible thing to do. And empathy usually helps with controlling that power. Compassion usually helps. Because another thing that I would say that is common with us, which is also I would say it's an interesting dichotomy with who we are, because as sharp as we think we are, as we've earned our way to sort of, I don't know, be able to see the world the way it is, right? To be observant, to be empathetic. Apart from all of these qualities that lend itself very well to a practicality, right? Apart from all of that, the other thing that I say, which is completely contrarian to the previous point, which is again similar, is that we're both bloody bleeding hearts.
But we refuse to have souls that are going to be strangulated. And I think, like I tell people, I said, slavery comes in very attractive packages. Very attractive.
Wow.
I'm not falling for that. You might say, okay, it would be easier if you had a partner or somebody you could just call and say, hey, handle this for me.
Yeah.
But then you think of
the price you have to pay for that.
I don't want to be burdened with that. And I'm not going to take a box that society has given me. Because even now I'm asked this question. That when are you going to get married again? Yeah. Life is long. So I said, life is long.
That's exactly
why I'm going and deadlifting and doing serious amount of weights. So I can lift myself up.
I like that. No, but my whole point is that life is long.
Yeah.
And I think people tend to forget that because, I mean, it's the longest thing in comparison to anything as long as you've been alive. So isn't it boring to just be with the one person you've decided to be with when you were 20 and idiotic?
Yeah, I mean, besides boring, I think what happens is people are just too scared to deal with themselves, Shreya.
Oh, 100%!
You rather be miserable with somebody and somewhere in your heart blame them for your unhappiness.
Rather than look inward.
Yeah.
Because I was having this conversation with somebody and it is not a very happy relationship, but this person is getting married to that person. And she tells me, but it's better to be, with a known devil, at least.
Than an unknown one, yeah.
So that's the thing she told me. But
But why be with the devil to begin with?
That was exactly my counter. You realize that the word devil is still a part of that equation, right? But why? Because the people are so terrified. Again, the way the society functions, the way the world functions economically, also, it makes sense to partner up. The world is built for a twosome or a foursome, right? Not very much a threesome, but come on, one inappropriate joke had to come with this. No, but yeah, it financially and in a lot of ways, the world is built for a couple or a family. It's stacked against single people, right? So the idea of wanting that is so ingrained that people would rather be in an unhappy situation with someone than to be with themselves. The idea is so terrifying. Because for me, I know, I can see this with a lot of people who talk to me. I can see that they're looking at me with oh, thank God, at least I have someone.
Yeah.
I'm not like her. And I get that. I can see it. I can feel it with the way they are and the way they behave. But when I look at their relationship, there is not one thing that I'm envious about. Not one thing. Why would I want something that makes you insecure? You're constantly on a way to impress this person who doesn't even care, who, probably already has cheated on you, if not. I don't know. It's like you said, it's just, I don't know what is happening where people are so afraid to discover what they like, what they don't like, what they want, what they don't want. Why that is such a source of fear.
Like I said, slavery comes in very attractive packages. And I think most of them, are business propositions. So why make me feel less because I choose not to be in that liaison? I believe that you pay the price for your choices. You walk tall, you walk on your own. You don't put your hand out. That's the way I lead my life. I don't hold it against somebody else who wants to be servile. But then don't tell me that I'm lacking something. Because secretly you wish you could fly. It takes you a long time to realize that, you find yourself in a cage, but the lock is actually on the inside.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we imprison ourselves.
Oh my, yeah.
Whether it's in bodies or whether it's the idea of ourselves, whether it's in a relationship.
You have the key all along, yeah.
The image is this.
Well
It's these are just cages.
Yeah.
To break away from that is scary. So people hold on to the familiar and what they know. When you go out there, you realize that this is beautiful, but to take that step.
Yeah. Because I remember saying this to a boyfriend of mine. I have never felt lonely by myself the way I feel lonely with you. And I remember feeling that, and that is by far the most, I think that's the lowest I've ever felt. Like the isolation that you feel because you're supposed to be with someone and you still feel lonely while being with someone. My God. And I feel like a lot of people are going through that, but they...
No, I understand that. And that is the reason that I ended my marriage. I forgot who I was. And no price is too high for the privilege of owning yourself. So I said, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life looking at this person and saying that, you are responsible for my unhappiness. Then have the audacity to go out into the world and start all over again. And maybe you'll fail.
Yeah.
Maybe there is nothing out there. Maybe it's just a repetition of this, in different form, different whatever. But then take the chance. That's just the way I'm designed, is that you have to be true to yourself. And being true to yourself starts with an intimate relationship. If the lies that you tell to yourself or to a person who you're vulnerable with, like you said, emotionally and physically naked, then how are you going to tell truth to the world?
This is ringing alarm bells in my head when we're talking about how people no longer have like a rich inner life, nor are they bothering to seek one out, right?
No, yeah.
They're not bothering to build. They're not, they're not wanting to stand out. Everybody wants to fit in. I saw one of these reels, inevitably as we all do, where somebody was talking about the idea that plastic surgery is at a boom right now.
It is.
The way it is right now speaks to the, like you said, the word homogenizing people. It means that you're trying to, people are trying to get peer pressured and look the same because nobody wants to stand out. Everybody wants to look nice. And the definition of nice right now is a very particular type of a face.
Yeah.
And everybody's falling in line with that. So my question to you, again, is when people are not seeking that inner life and people are subliminally being peer pressured into looking the same, sounding the same, not wanting to ruffle any feathers. It's ringing alarm bells for me, but how does that translate into art? Because if you're not building a rich inner life, where are you going to draw anything from? Isn't this already sort of spelling doom for the future of art and cinema and storytelling?
That's why we are where we are at. Because to have a rich inner life, you have to be able to look at yourself with all your own bullshit. And then have the capacity to completely erase that person who you thought you were and start all over again. How many people are willing to start all over again? When I walk onto a Bombay Begum set, for example, I'm aware that people are going to look at me through that sieve of the 19-year-old Pooja Bhatt who they saw in Dilhe Ke Manta Nahi.
Exactly.
But now gravity is taken over and there's a passage of time and I have no choice but to embrace that.
As someone who's lived all of this, all of the pressures, all of the ups and downs, how do you tell young women not to fall into the trap of this?
On that very shoot, on day one, my hairdresser who loves me, who's worked with me when I was at the peak of my career, she's most excited that, you're back in front of the camera, etc. And somebody's photograph with their lips pumped full of collagen popped up. And she very sweetly said, "Aap bhi kyun nahi karte hain?"
But she would have said it very innocently. I don't think
Very
she meant
innocently
it,
with great love. So I told her, I said, listen, darling, I'm very glad you've said this to me because I have a very strong sense of
Self.
who I am and self.
yeah.
If you said this to somebody else, they probably would have gone running to the nearest dermatologist or whatever. That's the way it is. Your very own tell you that, you know, maybe we could just fix this. Maybe like photographs. If I'm smart enough to catch the light, then my skin looks flawless. If I'm standing in bad light, it looks awful.
No, but it's a technical thing, huh?
Yeah.
Which people don't realize. The way your magazine ready is you put the person on the magazine. They're ready. That's how you're ready for the magazine cover.
Yeah.
You put them on the cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you normalize that people look different. I loved this about the 90s because regardless of the problematic films and the problematic tropes, regardless of that, all of you look different. What I mean is a compliment to all of the women at that time because you all look different and distinct. And it showed us like a different variety. Like you looked very different from a Madhuri, from Kajol, whatever. Like all of you looked very different. Now, everybody looks like, feels like the slightly different version of the same person.
The personality is not shining.
Yeah?
There's no distinction.
There's absolutely no distinction.
The clothes
Everybody's
are the
supposed
same.
to have big eyes, button nose, big lips. Everybody looks great. So how do you say someone looks beautiful? Because when somebody's telling, oh, she looks nice, everyone looks nice. Everybody looks beautiful. Give me something that I know can't be manufactured because everything else is.
But then we're not living in times where we are told to celebrate flaws. We're just interested in
But again,
ironing
why
on
call it
everything.
flaws? It's just differences. There's a reason why racism is on the rise, misogyny is on the rise, because differences are not celebrated. Because again, like we're talking about it being flaws, but they're not. They're just differences. I mean, being a certain shade of skin is not a bad thing. Having a nose that is not thin and straight and Anglo whatever is not a bad thing. It's very reflective of your rich culture and your rich ancestral heritage. But you are erasing everything that is unique about you just to look like someone else who looks like someone else, who also looks like someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what do you tell these girls? Because sometimes even I'm like, oh, you know what, I can, for people who can't see, I'm pulling my cheek behind. But even I can do this. And I'm like, why is that errant, stray thought in my head? And I have a very strong sense of self, but why is that there? I mean, it's bad enough that we have to color our hair anyway, which is already irritating me. But then why? So what do you tell people? Because it's insurmountable, Pooja, the pressure and the noise. How do you let it not get to you? You can't tell them to have like a strong sense of self because they don't. So how do you fight this?
No, and it's also the ecosystem. You know, when an actor comes in today, there's a whole battery of people with them who are living off that that actor. And they will then ask you to do everything that they think you need to do to be able to keep their registers ringing, Interviews are curated, yeah.
Oh yeah, that is so disappointing to me. Because they send the questions in advance and I'm like, yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Not just with me, but try not to do that with other people. I mean, you want to talk to this person, you want to get like an unfiltered sort of like a unprepared thing, right?
Yeah.
You want to see the person for how they think, what they think. Like you and I didn't talk about anything apart from the address to this place and lunch after. We didn't talk about anything. But I feel like with everybody else, I mean, if you're already getting such a curated sort of a response, you're not getting to talk to that person.
I mean, even the spontaneity is curated.
And now it's all ChatGPT. You won't believe.
Which I've never used, by the way.
You won't believe. Like people are sending text messages with ChatGPT.
I'm not surprised. It's wanting to polish everything, to sound more intelligent, to sound like anything but
it
yourself.
Doesn't sound intelligent. You sound like everybody else. ChatGPT makes you like the plastic surgery of vocabulary.
Yeah, that's true. That's what it is.
Because it's homogenizing your
I can pretty much
speech.
tell. When I get a message, I'm like,
100%.
Yeah.
Because I know how you speak and I know what you can and cannot, Come on, man. It's not attractive at all. You're unique, whatever. Like you say you type a word a certain way or you use emojis a certain way or you write in paragraphs. Because I've chatted with people who treat it like mini emails, which I love, which is so unique to that person, right? But I mean, this is utterly baffling. Like I was chatting with a director friend of mine. Again, if I may say so about myself, I am a funny person, right? I am witty. And if on some, occasion, I can really turn on the charm, right? So we're chatting and then she's like, okay, I need to ask you a question if you don't mind. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Always ask. And she's like, are you using ChatGPT to chat with me? She asked me. I got so...
She obviously doesn't know you very well.
Oh my God, I got so offended. I'm like, I have been insulted. I have been slighted. Like if I were an emperor, I would say off with your head. That is how offended I was. And I'm like, what makes you say that? Then she's like, no, because you're so witty. I can't, like, are you naturally this witty? Now, you're mistaking human qualities that are rare to replicate to a machine and an algorithm.
Absolutely.
That can't be witty. Hello, my brand of humor is very inappropriate and unique. That's not ChatGPT. I've developed this after years of trauma. How dare you take it away from me? Oh, I'm still offended. I'm still slighted. But my question was because I was having an argument with somebody, regardless of this like personal thing where you don't have an inner rich life. So how are you going to portray that on screen? That, forget it. We are getting used to mediocre acting, which is breaking my heart. Because before, like, there are still a lot of performances that I've seen on screen where it makes me question my entire being and like profession, right? I look at that performance, I'm like, bhai saab, ye main nahi karega.
Yeah.
Like this is a level that I cannot even aspire. What beauty, what absolute honesty on screen. Like that is what I want to do. And I question, I'm like, how dare I call myself an actor when that is the level of storytelling that's on screen, right? That's some of the performances that I've seen over the years. Now, in Hindi cinema, at least what I've noticed, is because we're hiring people based on their followers, which is shocking. But it's happening.
A credible filmmaker is also doing that?
They're hiring people based
But
on
then
their
these
followers.
are all, again, you see that X amount of followers is not going to guarantee that it's going to convert to tickets being bought to a cinema hall.
Yes, because again, they're mistaking, say, suppose you have like 10 million followers on Instagram. I'm just speaking about Instagram. Basic economics, right? Basic economics. It doesn't mean that the 10 million followers are unique just to this individual. This person is also following Dwayne The Rock Johnson, also following Lewis Hamilton. He's also following Leander Pace. He's also following so many other people. It's not unique to this person. So if you are going to think that 10 million people are going to buy 10 million tickets, it's not true. They just happen to be following you along with a million other people.
Absolutely. There's a whole world out there that's not on social media.
I agree. But that's the thing. If they're getting hired by number of followers, or if they're getting hired because they're seeing someone or they're associated with a certain surname, whether all of that, right, regardless of what you have brought to the job or whatever, when you're making decisions like this, there is regular people on looking at the film or the show. They're like, ye to main bhi kar sakta hu. Yeah, ye to main bhi kar sakti hu, right? Because I look at performances and I question wanting to be an actor, even though I worship everything about cinema. But you're hiring people not on the merit of what they bring to the screen, right? And then you are making every Tom, Dick and Harry think that, I can do this. And you know what? They're not wrong. They can also do that because there's no depth on screen. And when there's no depth on screen, because the projects, like you said, that are getting greenlit by people who've come from a certain other type of ecosystem, and they always have things to say. Oh, we know what works, that name or this type of marketing. And they come with all of this gyan. If there was a formula, like you said, it would have been cracked years ago. We would have never given a flop.
But then there's no depth on screen because there's no depth period in life.
There's something to be said because now I'm craving, I'll tell you, this is a unique thing that I've started feeling, particularly this year. This is a new development. I feel like it's nicer to sort of be a little removed now. To be, I don't know, previously I think they used to call it being mysterious. But I like that, like in the sense of being inaccessible.
What a quote attributed to Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the
who says,
Frog?
I'm just a simple frog. When I'm not working, I go back to my swamp. The Hollywood thing is not for me.
No, but I think there is something to that because I feel like there's so much of us that we're putting out there or that other people are talking about or other people are bringing out into the fore, that it's nicer to not be so accessible all the time. In general, I think it just helps protect like a lot of the peace.
I have to have my heart lead me. And I think that I'm at a stage of my life right now where I just refuse to suffer fools.
I agree, but this is it, Pooja, which is, I think a lot of people don't realize it. Not that I'm going to question your particular religion or your spiritual whatever that promises of an afterlife. I'm not going to question that. But this is it. This is what we get.
Yeah.
So why aren't you filling it with everything that makes you happy, that makes you feel full, that makes you rich, that makes you feel accomplished? This is it. This life. Whatever tension you're feeling, whatever fear you're feeling, whatever anxiety you're feeling, feel it. but do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do whatever it is you want to
Absolutely.
do it anyway. Feel like trepidatious, feel scared, feel tremulous, feel all of it. Somebody pointed this out, is like, if you look around the world, everything that is beautiful in this world, whether it's a structure that doesn't follow the rules of architecture, whether it's a movie that didn't follow the rules of filmmaking, whether it's a song that doesn't quite have like the beat that people are used to, whatever it is, anything that has moved you has been a passion project by
Yeah.
someone. The entire world and all of the beauty in it is filled with passion projects by a few individuals in a time and in a world that has tried to dissuade them from doing so.
Chup that we did together.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very brave film.
Yeah, it was
Starting
very
with Balki calling Raja and figuring that he's given him the worst reviews and thinking, okay, now you will work on it. But coming to Jayantilal Gada,
That's actually very badass, I must say.
really badass
Very,
to
very
say
badass.
that, you know
Shout
what?
out to Gada uncle.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Balki deciding that I'm going to release it before it goes into the theatres and show it to people across the country. Who the hell has done that?
Yeah.
So I'm just so glad that
We got to be a part of
Yeah.
something like that. I was having this conversation with a friend and I told him that, shit, man, it's a shit year. Even though I've tried to fill it with as much, because I really do. I do read, I do travel, I do spend time with the people that matter, and, I have fun, I seek out. I'm a hedonist in that way.
and you must be.
Yeah. So I told him that, but it still sucks, because I worked out of 365 days, I worked for 14 days. And I was like, it's too much. After a certain point, even I don't have like the temerity to face my own demons after a year like that, right? And he looked at me with no malice. And he's like, that's great because you worked 14 days more than I did.
That broke you.
Broke me.
Yeah.
So people really are struggling. Because I feel like I felt so much like, I don't know, like a big weight just to come to this podcast, because I thought you've had such great people and you're going to have amazing people in the future as well who've all lived, like I said, amazing lives just
but
as
first,
like
first
you.
of all, when you just tell yourself that you are an amazing person and that is why you are here.
So that I don't feel yet.
But
I
you
don't
must
feel it.
And I think one of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that you were here so I could tell you that loudly while the world was listening.
See
is that
how we
you're-
do this to each
No,
other,
no,
guys.
I mean it. You are an amazing person, and to be fair,
I feel like I'm this close away from like incarceration.
but we all feel like that all the time. I mean, you've done some great work,
Yeah.
and the best is yet to come.
I hope.
You are in that phase where you're growing into that tree that one day you're going to be and provide a lot of shade to a lot of people.
Oh, I like that idea. I hope.
You're not there yet, and thank God you're not there yet, because once you're there, then what?
Yeah, no.
It must get terribly difficult sometimes, very
It is,
lonesome,
it is.
very scary.
Because
but
how do you reconcile with this fact that, okay, see, because I have been in not one, but two of the most widely watched shows in the country.
yes,
But I have not seen the same sort of success translate into career opportunities. Maybe that also has to say with it because I get some, projects and get stories that I don't connect to, so I say no a lot. But maybe it's a gender thing because the people who've been with me on those projects have seen immense opportunities open up for them. But the same has not applied to me or the women on those particular projects. So it's difficult to navigate. If I'll be very real, I think a part of it is also fear. Why I'm not branching out and doing more things like, say, again, going into directing, going into writing. If I'm being very vulnerable, I think the idea is, shit, I'm already failing publicly in one avenue. I don't want to be failing in multiple avenues. Even though I say that my motto is to fail better, fail soon. But how many avenues am I going to fail at? Am I not going to be adequate in? I'm just going to be just like, till there, everybody's like, yeah, but you're so good. You have so much potential. You're so smart. You're so like sexy and beautiful. They say all these things. And in my head, it sounds like, okay, but if all of this was true,
why am I not getting
why
work?
am I not getting work? I would be successful, right? So
Right.
then that means it's not true. That means I'm not very good at my job. That means I'm not spectacular looking. That means I'm not like as intelligent as I think I am. Because I feel like if I were, life would happen to me in a certain way, but it's not. So that means the input is false.
We've all felt like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there are times when you're like, what more can I do? That's part of it. And
Is it? It's crippling.
no,
man.
I think, I do believe that life gives you things when you're ready for them.
Oh, come on.
No,
We've
I
all
mean-
been ready for so many
No, but
things.
you've-
So many other people are
Shreya,
not
look
ready
at
for
the work
things.
you've done. Will you first of all just pause and be kind to yourself?
I feel like I haven't done that.
No, but then that's the problem. You see, then the best work becomes the albatross around your neck. You've had Scam.
Yeah.
You've had Family Man.
Yeah.
We've done Chup together. It was a very unusual role. I mean, I remember the first time I met Balki.
Yeah.
And he said, I've got Shreya to do this part, And he spoke.
But Balki is love, yeah. I
But
love
he
that
spoke
man.
about you with such admiration and with such respect.
Love him.
You've already done a lot more than people can't even dream of.
Sure.
And I know it's never enough.
Sure. But it just, I don't
You'd
know.
like to do a lot more, I'm
Yeah.
certain.
14 days out of 365 days, Pooja. It's bad. And everybody thinks that, oh shit, but you're doing well. I see you everywhere. I'm like, where? Where really? I really want to be doing so much more. It harkens back to all of the fact that the filmmakers are not being brave. They are not getting freedom to even cast according to their own wishes. They're also following like a certain template of what's supposed to be made.
Yeah.
And everybody, again, looks the same and there's problematic choices being made. And because I don't fit in everywhere, I feel like even they feel like, oh shit, we'll be taking a lot of chances if we have to hire someone like her. Or
I asked you earlier, so is it like the work is not there or the work that you feel defines
now
you is not there?
I genuinely think the work is generally not there for a lot of people. Like we talked
Yeah,
about,
it is
even
a bleak
technicians.
time.
It's
Even though I've
particularly
been hearing
bleak.
it's a bleak time since the time I entered the business, which was like 36 years ago. Every year I was told that this
that's
is the worst
true.
year.
That's
This is the
true.
worst year.
This is true. But now, because I'm seeing it with technicians, which are usually, they're the guys who are almost always employed. Because of that, I feel like it's genuinely bleak. But also because the quality is gone. Like earlier, like I'd look at a film and like, shit, yeah, that's a great role. Or, I would be envious of, say, a colleague or another actor. Man, if I got that role, how cool. Not that they didn't do it well, whatever.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
just
I
that,
hear
yeah,
you.
I wish I had like a shot at that or something. Lately, this is the difference that I've noticed, is that there's no envy. You're not looking at any role saying, shit, yeah, I wish I had. No, it's bad.
Right.
You're not looking at that monster hit because the woman in that film was treated very badly.
Yeah.
It was highly misogynistic and
No, I
very
understand.
problematic.
I hear you.
And there's so many films like that.
People are surprisingly comfortable with that. I mean, I could not do a film where my basic, value system was not aligned with that.
No, I don't mind a lot of that. Like in the sense that, say, come on, we don't have value systems that are akin to, say, psychopaths.
No, I mean the overview of the film.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Antithetical to
Yeah.
your being, sure.
Yeah.
But this is not just different from what you think. I think it's problematic and it propagates a very unhealthy setup for people. Like I don't mind playing a woman who's patriarchal and sort of propagates the very idea of misogyny in a family, because there are women who do that, who uphold all of those values. It's fine. What I find is everything about that
I know what you mean, but it's being consumed.
lazy. But it's lazy. There are so many films that are so well done, even though they're misogynistic or whatever, and then they shine a light on it where they also talk about it. See, okay, the films that we have sort of deified and made a hit, it's the lowest form of filmmaking and storytelling. So for me, even technically, it's not aspirational. Like, this is what you like, really?
The people making the decisions, the ones who are actually greenlighting things, most of them are more interested in saving their jobs. First of all, there is no format and there is no formula. If there was, then, the greats who have come and gone before us would have cracked it.
Exactly.
It's just a lot more money being spent for a lot less today. So I find that with the corporate culture is there's a lot more fear and they're making mistakes and then they're backpedaling to cover up those mistakes. And we are where we are because, how do you justify certain things being greenlit? And how do you justify extremely talented filmmakers not being able to get their foot through the door? So they're talking about storytelling and we need a change. But the change will come, like my grandmother used to say. She said, beta, kamre badalne se bukhar nahi jata. So a lot of the people who are sitting in corporate offices today have come from conventional companies. And then just because the office has changed.
A lot of television formats and stuff, yeah?
So we're going backwards in a way.
We really are.
Well, 97, I produced my first film. Because I said, I cannot be waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And, hoping that there's something new is going to come my way. Then you got to get up and make it happen.
Yeah.
And which
That
is why I
also is
produced
a big-
Tamanna.
yeah.
So I think that there are times when you can't expect the world to provide an answer. You need to go out there and
But that's
diversify
hard, yeah.
or
See,
find
that's
that
the
answer
thing.
yourself.
I agree, but it's hard, yeah. Because like I said, because even I write, and it's difficult to get people to greenlight anything. And I know like accomplished filmmakers, award-winning, major hit-giving filmmakers who cannot get their projects greenlit. They cannot cast according to their wishes, and they're struggling. And I'm barely, like, I'm just writing. And this is the state of the film because of the people who are making the decisions. Look at the kind of films they see. Look at the kind of things they read. If these are the people making the decisions, how? How are you going to do that? I always urge people to see the show. It's called The Offer. It's on Paramount, which is, I think, Geo here in India. It's a making of The Godfather. And this is the film that every filmmaker cites as their reason for being, their reason for coming into the film business, their reason for wanting to make films and being in cinema. But even this, if you see the show, every step of the way, which is very brave of Paramount to produce it, because the biggest villain in the show is Paramount.
Yeah.
Because they were a hurdle every step of the way. They're like, why would you sign this new guy? Al Pacino has done like a supporting part, does some theatre. Get a name, get Jack Nicholson, get Robert Redford. And again, the director fought for him.
Yes.
Right? Every step of the way.
The
There were
director fought
choices.
for him, and then when the director went and offered him Apocalypse Now, he was rejected. And then Francis Ford Coppola went into the garden and smashed his 5 Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
See, but that's what I'm saying. All these stories.
so the-
Everything is a
yeah.
passion project. We don't have anyone who will fight for us over here.
No, but it's
There's
a
no
thankless
conviction.
business. Rhea, there's one thing I've realized is that it is a thankless business.
Yeah. So
You
so
know,
people have. That's the thing. So
Gratitude
everybody.
is.
But that's
very
the thing.
rarely
Then the
exists.
filmmakers who want to make The Godfather
Yeah.
will not be able to make it because you're not making the sacrifices and the choices that man made. You're not standing up for the cast that you want. You're not standing up for the technicians that you want. You're not standing up for the story choices that you want without the invasion by the executives who know nothing about films, who
No,
are
they
going
know
to tell
nothing.
you. So
Like,
if you're not going to stand up, you're not going to bloody make
I mean,
The
like a very
Godfather.
small thing. I mean, I made my film Paap, and the 2 things I fought for, one was the location,
Yeah.
and the other was...
Oh, the location was beautiful. You shot in the north, right?
I shot in Spiti. Nobody had ever shot there
North.
before.
Yeah, I remember.
And Rahat Fateh Ali Khan, Man Ki Lagan.
Oh.
The music company loved the song. They said, but change his voice. Get his voice dubbed by somebody who's more popular here. I said, no. Either you change the director or you change the singer. And what you remember of Paap is
Is it
Man Ki
the song?
Lagan
But
and
it's the
Spiti.
song, yeah, but it's the-
So,
Yeah, it
in my
is,
own little
though.
way, I fought for what I believed
No,
in.
but it's true
and that's what you
though.
remember.
But that's true. But that's the thing. We don't have you were right because it is thankless. But then how else do you make The Godfather? We want films like that, right? You want something that will speak to people, that will touch people, and that will encourage a whole new generation to come into this business. But apart from fame, I don't see any other reason for people wanting to come here. It breaks my heart to see this because I don't care where you come from, really. I don't have a problem that you've had access and privilege because your father or your mother or your family was into it. I don't have a problem. What breaks my heart is that you don't care.
Yeah.
With all that privilege, you don't care. You don't have a love for the cinema.
No, I know what
In fact,
you're
I
saying.
have seen what your family has done for this industry, but you haven't. You don't even care what your own family contributed to this place. And I always say this, and I've said this multiple times in many places. If you're lucky enough to fall in love, great. But apart from that, cinema is the only place where there's magic.
No, I agree with you.
You know?
And unfortunately, there is this generation that does not have any memory.
They don't
Most of them don't
care.
know who Dilip Kumar is.
Oh,
They do not
what's
know who
worse,
Lata
they don't
Mangeshkar
care.
is. And they don't care.
Because for me, if someone tells me
But they
you
forget
need this, yeah.
that they are going to be forgotten in the same way. From oblivion to oblivion.
No,
That
but
is
that's
the
okay.
journey.
I don't think we're fighting for
Posterity
fame after
in that
death. Yeah,
sense.
I don't think that's a
No, I agree. But for
want.
most people, the goal is fame.
But that it is. That I agree.
I mean, the reason I celebrate you is because I can say in no uncertain terms is that for you it's not fame.
No,
like I
it's
said,
not.
it's the promise you made to yourself that you want to be part of something larger than yourself.
Oh my God, yes.
You want to contribute to a certain human condition and feeling in that sense.
This is my dream, right? I feel I want to be doing work or being part of stories and worlds where people like an audience member will make a decision saying, Shreya's there, Shreya Dhanvantri is in this film. Might be nice, yeah? Worth
Yeah.
checking out. Something might be nice in this film. Something.
That's what I feel as well, that if I do something, then people should say, oh, if she's in it, there must be something to it.
Something to it.
Yeah.
That's it. Not that I'm saying that, oh, matlab,
No, absolutely.
It's not that, but there'll
Absolutely.
be something different, something interesting, something
Absolutely.
for you to
But then
sink your teeth
the wait
in.
is going to be long. The time between one project to the
Where
other
I'll have to
will get
deal with,
longer.
Madam,
Not
aap
for
bhi
all
kuch
of
feel
us.
kar do.
For all of us. I mean, we just have to be able to endure that. But I think you're doing marvelously. In the meantime, you're traveling.
Yes.
And you're going off and discovering the world and hence yourself. So just keep at it, my dear, because...
There's no other way, I feel.
I mean, you know, like
Keep
somebody
on
said, I
keeping
never
on.
promised you a rose garden, and it's going to get more lonesome, and it's going to
Thanks.
get more
Thanks.
fraught with
Thanks
difficulty.
for that. Thanks for ending on such a high. This is such a hopeful
No,
note.
but if showbiz is not for sissies, and you're a tough one, because you can look at yourself like this, and not many people have that capacity. So I would say that just keep at it, because it'll come. It'll happen. Like I said, you haven't become that tree yet,
No, not yet, not yet.
but you're getting there.
Some sapling has come out a little bit.
The sapling is shooting up, I can
Yeah,
assure
yeah,
you.
yeah.
When I look at you, I see a lot of me strangely in you, because I also fought very hard to keep that fire alive. In fact, I was on a set once and someone told me, oh my God, we thought that you were not somebody who was interested in your career. You didn't care. I said, no, I cared so much
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be part of an indifferent
But there's a
film.
difference, you know. I think the main difference, I've been able to articulate this over the past few years. I don't take myself seriously at all, which I think is the same for you. But I think we take what we do
Very seriously.
very seriously.
But what we
there's
both,
a difference.
But what we both need to get rid of, and I think I'm getting there now at 53, is
Yeah, so मेरे पास time है
is
then.
this absolutely, but this self-effacing quality has to also
yeah,
go.
well, yeah, we do that. We do that,
Yeah,
don't we?
that has to stop. You have to look at yourself and say, I'm pretty cool, man.
मैं है.
मैं है. And you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
Great. We have a segment on the show where I turn the tables and I say, okay, is there something you want to ask me? But I think
I
you've
feel
asked
like
me
I
enough.
feel I've asked you. I feel I've asked you a decent amount on behalf of all the people listening. Next
So
time.
just keep at it and don't let the world tell you that you need to stop dreaming, and just keep the fire raging.
Oh well, likewise.
Yeah.
You're
do
only
that.
just getting started.
I feel like that. Like life has barely begun.
No, I feel it too. I feel it for you. I swear.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And I just absolutely adore you.
Oh my God. If it's possible, I adore you more. Can you hear that, guys? Yeah, we're kissing each other.
The Pooja Bhatt Show is produced by Mammoth Media Asia and Epilogue Entertainment and distributed by iHeart Podcasts. The executive producer is Jonathan Strickland.